Welcome to the all-new Marvel Roundup, the Southgate Media Group's guide to the Marvel Comics of the week. As always, I am Phil Parrish, and joining me is...
Charlie Esser.
Alright, I am starting it off, so I will go to all-new X-Men 13. You would probably like this issue, Charlie. You like all the teen books and the teen drama, you know.
I do like the teens, man. It makes me look wistful for when I was... let me rephrase that. I'm wistful for that time when life was so simple and your greatest worries were who you were dating. It was a glorious time before I had to adult. So yes, I love and to me, it's like the teen superheroes are the ultimate extension of the idea of teen drama. It's very nice.
Mm-hmm. So this takes place in Miami, Florida. Young Iceman's there with Eddie and Evan, the young Apocalypse clone. Yeah.
Young Evan, young Apocalypse.
So they're basically there to be Iceman's wingmen because they take him to a gay club and because they're trying to get him experience with dating. Cause he's all nervous, so they're trying to get him.
Not for nothing, but how old are these characters?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think they'd be old enough to get into a club, but
yeah, I'm just thinking, Matt, because these are supposed to. These aren't none of them should be 21 yet.
Yeah, I didn't think, but
I guess it's an all ages gay club, which I gotta imagine that even in South Beach, that's gonna get shut down real fast. So you really keep an all ages club open when it's
yeah, I know,
standardized.
Yeah. But so they show them in the club, and Iceman's making a couple attempts to talk to guys, and some go better than others. But he's basically nervous through everything. The one guy he starts to get close to, basically, he gets all nervous when the guy touches his hand, and he all ices up, and he runs out the back door and runs into
symbology.
Anyway, he runs into another guy, and They seem to start hitting it off pretty good. The guy says he introduced himself. He says, "I'm Bobby." The guy says his name's Romeo.
Yeah, his name is really Romeo.
Well, I buy it. You'll see why. But all of a sudden, this big moth guy creature shows up. So Bobby ices up, and Tim and the other two are fighting it, and Romeo's going, no, you don't, it's fine, just leave him alone, you don't understand, stop, and basically throws himself in the way in between Iceman and the big moth thing, and Romeo's like telling him, you're okay, it's my fault this happened, I was trying to find you and got distracted, please calm down, we can help you, and the moth creature stops, and you're like, what? And Iceman's like, so? And Romeo's like, yeah. And then you hear a voice from behind them say, I suppose that counts as a win, eh, Romeo? And guess who it is, Charlie?
Medusa.
Close, it's Crystal.
Oh, Crystal. Good old Crystal.
So,
I wonder if they've ever addressed the fact that her ex is dating her sister now. that Johnny Storm, he a dog. That's all I'm saying.
I know, keep it in the family, gee.
Yeah, I guess if it works.
They call them Inhumans, I don't know.
But well, they are the royal family,
Yeah.
You know what they say about royals.
Yeah. But so it turns out Romeo's an Inhuman too. Because I guess Crystal's a little mad, and Romeo's like, won't happen again. I was a little late getting here. Then the X-Men showed up, and Crystal's like, oh, X-Men, that explains it. But later on, they show Bobby and Romeo talking, and Bobby's all freaked out because he says, because he finds out Romeo's power is, how does he explain it? Well, he says, he can sense and manipulate people's emotions. He's an emotional empath. He can calm people down, warm them up, whatever.
Ooh, that's uncomfortable when you're in a relationship.
Yeah, but Bobby's all freaked out because he's wondering if Romeo used his powers on him to make him think like he had this deep connection. And then Ray sees Romeo typing on the phone, and he says, yeah, he's like, you are awesome and different, and yes, of course I want to buy you all the French fries in the world, but So if you just look, he's like, if you could just look up from your smartphone for 10 seconds and let me down easy. And Romeo says, this isn't my phone. This is yours. Because Romeo told him he was a recovering pickpocket. He says, turns out he took Bobby's phone out of his pocket to give him his phone number. So he says, got to go back to work, but you should definitely call me sometime. So Romeo takes off the other Inhumans at the end. And Eddie and Evan show up and they're like, oh, what happened? And Bobby's like, digits. I got digits.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it was a cute issue. It's a thumbs up. Like I said, it was all the teen dating drama. I think you'd like this issue.
No, I'm sure I would have. I'm sure I would have. Although, as has been pointed out, Bobby apparently is dating a guy named Romeo just before the Inhumans and the mutants go to war.
Oh yes.
Wow, haven't seen that story before.
Oh, especially with a guy named Romeo.
Yes.
Smacking us in the face with that symbolism. Okay. All right.
Thumbs up?
Yes, like I said, thumbs up. And I guess I'm doing another one. I guess I'll keep it X-Men. Old Man Logan, number 11. Can't believe it's 11 already.
Hey, old man. Oh, yeah, I should have picked that up. Oh, well.
Yeah, so it opens up in Japan in the present. Of course, Logan's facing down, what's their name? Is it Silent Order? But they have Deathstrike host. They took Deathstrike prisoner, but Logan frees her, and they basically say, she's like, I don't know if I should thank you or kill you, and he's like, we can kill me later if we get out of this. So they're basically call a truce, and they're fighting the Order together. Then they go. Then they flash to Japan in the his future in the wastelands, and it's him and Maureen, and she said, he's telling her, she's like, what is this place? And he's telling her, when I tell you to, just hit the floor and stay down. And he says, she's like, what? And he's like, whatever happens, remember I love you no matter what, and I'm sorry. And she's like, you're scaring me. He's like, not yet, I ain't. So the Silent Order comes in, and I guess it's their leader. But it's weird. It's like a white bald guy with glasses, and
he's white.
Yeah, that's what he appears to be white.
Okay,
it's weird. He's leading this like this ninja order. Yeah. But he's telling him about.
He is the mighty Whitey.
He tells him how he's a collector, and he says, in Japan they really didn't get in much of the supervillains, but the few who came over were beaten by the Silent Order. He must be some kind of telepath or something, because his eyes start glowing, and he looks in, he tells Logan, oh, let's see what you have to offer me. And he looks in his head, and he looks like he sees all Logan's memories, and he freaks out. He says, he tells the Silent Order guy, he's like, what have you done? And the guy's like, Master? He's like, he's a monster. You've brought a monster to me. He'll be the death of me. And Logan says, you got that right, bub. And he pops his claws and cuts himself loose. And he says, I'm sorry, Maureen. Best if you close your eyes now. And I guess he goes to town on them, but they flash back to the present where him and
Wait, does Maureen see him pop his claws?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, so she knows. So, okay, yeah. I guess that was maybe a mystery from the first book, is whether or not his wife actually knew. Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So they're back in the present, him and Deathstrike. They took down most of the Silent Order guys, but, like the main warrior is still up, and, he wounds Deathstrike. I don't know how bad, but she hits the ground, and old man Logan says, leave her. And the warrior's like, I learned my place a long time ago. Now it's time she learned hers. And he says, and you, Logan, you are the center of this game. You are the reason we're here. And he tells him, told you once, so I killed you already. Happy to do it again. And so he says, you claim to know me. You claim to have fought me before. But what you don't know is that I have seen you too, Logan. And Logan says, maybe I should take your eyes out then. And so he's like, your false bravado betrays you. The Silent Order knows who you are. We have been waiting for you, preparing. Despite what you may think, I am not the leader of these men. Much like Deathstrike, I am merely a bit player. It is my duty to protect our order spans centuries, and once in every generation the silent monk is born. He is my ward. He is my reason for living. He tells him the silent monk is gifted. He sees beyond this world. He has the sight of 1,000 generations. When he was born, he shared this gift with all of us. He showed us his vision. He showed us the future, and it was glorious. The Silent Order will rise. Japan will finally be ours. But then we will lose it all. One day a man will come, this man will defeat me, this man will leave my master unprotected, he will end our reign. And in the vision our master shared, we saw that man was you, Logan. One day you would become the great destroyer. One day you would kill my master. I cannot allow that. I will prevent this future from happening.
Bum, bum, bum.
And Logan tells him, been through this myself, bub. You can't change the future. All you can do is let it happen. And then both of them seem to be caught by, it looks like somebody with telekinesis. And a voice says, stop it. And so he says, master. And it's the same guy from the future, Charlie, but he looks like a kid here. Same bald head, same glasses, everything. But he looks smaller, like he's a child. He says, stop hurting my friends.
Bum, bum, bum.
That must be the silent monk. But
yeah. But he's a little feller here.
Yep. Good story. Thumbs up.
Sounds great. Okay, so let's get into the Civil War II morass. And if you want more asses, no.
Tony Stark
talk to me. No, I was going to say, let's go to A-Force. Oh, that was rude. Although actually, for a book filled with female characters, startling few ass shots, which is a good thing. So we're opening up for basically where we left off last issue. Medusa and Captain Marvel have come to confront Nico, who is, of course, at the house of the parents of the girl she's supposed to kill, that she only ran to because they were after her. Elsa Bloodstone is like all annoyed at all the superheroes showing up. Mm-hmm. She's got monsters to deal with. And Carol is like, look, this isn't just about punishing you. It's about protecting you. You're not a murderer. I don't want you to become one, It's a really nice exchange as they work through this. Medusa is not easy to control. She is, wrapping her hair around Nico, and then Dazzler and Singularity show up, and basically Dazzler threatens to burn out Medusa's retinas, and Elsa's all mad because now she can't eat her big old hoagie. She pulls out her shotgun. I don't know what a shotgun's going to do against all of the bulletproof people, but apparently she has one. And everyone decides to stand down a bit, and you see Captain Marvel. Basically, everyone's fighting, and then Singularity takes them all above the town, shows, look, this town is in chaos. There's monsters everywhere. We need to stop fighting, be friends, and work together. So they decide to break into teams. Nico, Dazzler, and Medusa will battle the monsters. Or not Nico, but Singularity, Medusa, and Dazzler will battle the monster. Elsa, Nico, and Captain Marvel will go figure out what's going on with the girl that's supposed to be murdered. Nico threatens Medusa that if she ever comes at her with her hair again, she's going to make all her hair fall out. Actually, she threatens her with a magical buzz cut. So, Dazzler and Medusa have a nice confrontation where she's saying, I know why you keep on hanging out here, because you just want to be away from being the queen for 1 minute. You just want to be a superhero. And she's like, Medusa's like, well, yeah, why are you hanging out with us? Except the same thing. And they sort of come to this thing about how she's had a hard time. She hasn't been able to mourn, Dazzler Thor, and about how Dazzler Thor, it wasn't her, but it reminded her of her she could have been in another life, but of her she never was, and yada yada. And they hug, and they are friends. And then, of course, the dad of the girl to die turns into the bug monster, and it goes, so we have to stop there. We have a good, back and forth. And this is what I love about the A-Force, is you really get people, they're calling Carol on her stuff. Carol is responding, and you're actually getting this as a conversation of equals, as opposed to a, one drunken idiot saying, "You're wrong, Carol, and you're a hysterical female. Listen to me. As I mansplain why Civil War is wrong." So that's why I love A-Force. Always great. Elsa's mad that she's the one who can't fly, but she's the one that has to crawl up the rocks because Carol doesn't want to leave Nico alone, and and the passageway can only fit one person through. They go into the old abandoned mine where evil happens, and they hear the rustle of things, and Carol almost shoots Elsa. Then they see the queen bug monster, and of course the queen bug monster is the girl that Nico's supposed to kill, who can speak with her telepathically. Basically, they have a conversation. It's like, how can we stop this? And basically says, and the girl says, you have to kill me. If you don't kill me, then everyone's going to turn into monsters. And then we see in the final scene as Nico's trying to figure out a way around this, we see that Ilsa has turned into a monster creature and has Carol in her pinchers. Dun, dun, dun. Welcome, says, help us welcome our new bug overlords. Next issue. Big thumbs up for A-Force. I always love A-Force. It's a great book. It gives you what you're looking for in a book like this. It's well written, it's fun, it's jaunty, great art, and hey, look at this. She-Hulk's back on the cover next issue, so hopefully it's still a Civil War II tie-in, but everyone's together and smiling. So maybe there's hope for peace after Civil War yet. That's the hope. That's the dream. Yeah, big thumbs up for this one.
All right, well, let's go to that known peacemaker, Deadpool number 18.
Yay, Deadpool.
Yeah, well, if you remember last issue, he found his wife in bed with a werewolf, and he shot the werewolf in the head.
As you do.
Yeah, so she's sitting in bed with some brain matter on her face, and she says to Deadpool, do you intend to shoot me? And he says, probably not. Even for me, that'd be pretty dark. And she says, we've been over this. We're allowed a certain number of invitations. And he says, yeah, but it feels like you're expanding your guest list, Shikla. And she's like, no, I'm not. But then a female demon comes running out of the room, and he says, how do you explain her? And she's like, there are a great many visitors to this bedchamber, men, women, that demon from the nether region, and there was that, whatever that tentacle thing was from Weird World. And she's like, you knew who you were marrying? And he says, so do you. He's like, I fight, I screw up everything. That's all I know how to do. And he says, are we doing this? And she says, yeah. And he goes running out of the room, and he's already in costume. They're basically fighting each other, and she's like, you can screw up your own happiness, but don't screw up mine. And Deadpool's like, okay, in that case, just put a bag over the stump where the werewolf's head used to be.
He's a werewolf. It'll grow back.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and he's saying we should see a therapist. Fool Killer has a brain license or whatever they have to get. And she says, you think I should consult with a doctor named Fool Killer? So then they're fighting underground, and they make it to a subway tunnel, and they basically get on. They're basically fighting onto the train. And he's telling her, I was always honest with you. And she's like, do you believe that bleep that comes out of your mouth? And he's like, name one lie I told you. And she says, when we met, you introduced yourself as the ruler of Earth. And he goes, I meant culturally. And she's starting to demon out a little bit because the horns are starting to come out of her head. And she's like, I missed you. And he says, nice to see I can still make you horny. Yep. Oh, sorry. There you go.
I can do my own sound effects.
Okay, sorry, I forgot you're that guy from Police Academy. I'm sorry.
I'm an artist, man.
No.
Took improv at Second City, buddy.
Yeah, so they fight back up above. They're up above ground now, and she asks him, she goes, why don't you come back to bed? And he says, the one I just shot that werewolf in. And she says, he'll be fine. His head will regenerate. He'll have a baby face for a while. And she's like, come back down. It'll be romantic. He said, no, I'm good. So they part ways. That she says, very well, never the end, husband, never the end. And he's like, what does that mean? Doesn't she want us over? And Then he's thinking about how he has to protect his daughter, and he has to kill Madcap. They show him wandering around the city for a while. Then he goes back to what's left of the theater, because after Ultron wrecked it, it's pretty much gone. But he's sleeping in the one bedroom that survived intact, Charlie. Steve Rogers' old room.
Oh, that's a nice room. It's got the old radio and all the old baseball cards and stuff, that because they kept his footlocker safe for 60 years, because that's what you do.
I'm wondering if this takes place after Uncanny Avengers, because he's saying, "Oh, now that Steve's all young and strong, he doesn't need me anymore." So this has a vibe of the team falling apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, that I would imagine so. Or at least it's taking, the team was falling apart long before the latest issue.
But then there's somebody else in the remains of the base getting some of their personal belongings or whatever. It's Rogue.
Yeah.
So they're talking for a while, and she helps him get his motorcycle out that was buried under some rubble. Then he takes her to see. They're watching Ellie from like across the street. And she's all surprised. She's like, "Wait, Wilson, I'm surprised," but I guess she wants to know why he told her about his daughter. He says, I wanted you to know that she existed. She might be a mutant. He says, someday she may even need an X-woman in her corner. And she's like, "Oh, of course." She's like, "Of course I'll have her back." And he says, "Really?" He goes, "Even if she gets some bleep power, like talking to trees or something."
Hey, talking to trees is a great power, man. Just ask Groot. Or Plant Man.
And she says, "This isn't how I thought my night was going to go." And he says, I'm totally up to go kill the Red Skull and take back Xavier's brain if you would rather go do that." And she says she's starting to get scared that they're going to fail at that. And he says, "Not going to happen. I promise. We'll stop him." And then he's asking her, he's asking her what she knows about Madcap, and she says, "That weird clown fella." And he says, "Doesn't sound so intimidating when you say it like that." Then they showed Madcap popping out of some guy's stomach like an alien. I don't know. I guess he's in this guy's body, but he takes him to a lab for something. I don't know if they really don't say what it is. And then back to Deadpool and Rogue. This is great. Deadpool asks her, "Did I have the shortest Avengers tenure?" And she says, "We're still Avengers as long as the Red Skull has Charles's brain. And besides, I'm pretty sure you lasted longer than Dr. Druid." And he says, "Wait, was he a guy that talked to trees? And did he die in the line of duty?" She says, "Don't remember. I'm just trying to make you feel better." He says, "Just for future reference, comparing me to Dr. Druid does not make me feel better."
No, Dr. Druid was, yeah. I liked Anthony Druid till they made him go all evil. I never quite got that. Yeah.
And then they brought him back and gave him the makeover.
Well, now he's like full on evil.
Yeah. But she takes off. She says, "Call me when you're done," and sulking. And he says, "I'll sulk as much as I please. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow." He says, "By then, I'll have a safe house set up for the vigilantes, formerly known as Steve Rogers' Unity Squad." He says, "But tonight, I'm going to admire the immense rebel pow of cluster bleep that my life has become."
Aw, poor Deadpool.
That's the end. It says Deadpool will return because it looks like the next issue is Deadpool 2099 again.
Yay! Well, it's the end of the arc. Okay.
Yep.
That brings me to my next book, Gods of War #4. And I'm gonna call this my pick of the week. It's a tough week this week because there's like 2 Gwenpool books, and both are fantastic. And then we've got Black Panther, which is always awesome, and Uncanny Avengers was not bad either. But this one, Gods of War #4, really it hit a sweet spot for me. We're opening up with Tiresias basically recording the "If you're listening to this, we're already dead" video, as is the way, basically catching everyone up about how the rising storm is going to destroy the world, and Hercules and you guys are too busy with your civil war to deal with it. Once again, it's up to Hercules to save the day against these unknowable gods from beyond. That the superheroes just don't. I mean, not even Doctor Strange is aware of this stuff. So that tells you how crazy this stuff is. Hercules is leading his gods of war in. The gods have taken over an abandoned hotel in Staten Island. And meanwhile, back in Brooklyn, I think it was Greenpoint, Ire and Lorelei are mixing Paleolithic and Asgardian magics to shield them from the vision of the storms. But of course, Cryptomnesia can see it because he is the god of data. And they send Horoscope, the goddess of self-image and toxic narcissism, to deal with the two witches. And then they send Catastrophobia to deal with the bad guy, the monstrous god of war, they call him. Lorelei says there's something wrong with the rune. There's something wrong. The runes are trembling. And she says, I said we needed blood to fix this conjuring, human blood. And then, of course, Horoscope comes and says, oh, you'll have your blood all right. Tiresias says, who's that? What's happening? Says, we are found. And battle ensues. And, of course, Ire draws some blood right from Horoscope because now they got some blood for the ritual. Horoscope's all mad that they're taking it. We get Tiresias's voiceover again from the recording. Says, if all goes to plan, our heady brew of sorcery will severely weaken the storm's power. We see Beowulf, I forget his name, the blonde guy, and Gilgamesh, aka the Forgotten One, basically unloading heavy ordnance into Catastrophobia, but it's like not even phasing him. Beowulf says, bullocks, it ain't bloody working. Catastrophobia knocks Beowulf down. Then he takes out Gilgamesh as Theseus, that's his name. Says, you will fall, you will. I'm Theseus, you hear me? And his axe chips as it smashes against Catastrophobia, who then targets his face with his thing. And Theseus says, I'm a very famous hero. And then, of course, who should come from behind? Gilgamesh with the big axe mace to the back of the head. No, you don't, Thwatong. And it says, then Gilgamesh says, you're supposed to be weakened. You're supposed to be weakened. It says, we see Cryptomnesia says, Catastrophobia, what's happening down there? And Hercules and Sigurd bust through. The end of the world is happening. Your world. They get into this great thing. Cryptomnesia is like, oh, for crying out loud. As Sigurd says, in the name of the All-Father, die. And, of course, Sigurd's sword shatters against Cryptomnesia. And Cryptomnesia tosses Sigurd off like a ragdoll. Says, you can't hurt us, you imbecile. And he says, if a noble son of Asgard has fallen today, monster, you will what? I'll what? You just don't learn, do you, ding-dong? Given that we've shrugged off everything you've thrown up at us up to now, Hercules, what makes you think this round is going to go any different? Says, so you have some insight now. Our attempts to turn you have allowed you to glimpse a glimpse of our secrets, like we were hiding. Big whoop. And it says, and they've shown me what you are, what you want. It's all about destruction. This is go back to the video diary or the video thing. It's all about destruction and chaos. You see, all along we thought the storm had a plan, a rule the world plan, an exterminate the great heroes and the gods of old and replace them plan. Their storm are gods created by the modern age, born spontaneously from its excesses and flaws. They are not like the ancient gods who pursued the grand design of life. They are symptoms, allergic reactions to modernity, and they have no plan. That is their true horror. You want to watch the world burn and die. You just want to destroy. Spot on. It's going to be beautiful. Why? Oh, Hercules, Jercules, sometimes there's simply no reason. So this is great. What if Joker were God? Life has no reasons. Humans have always fooled themselves that it's got a purpose. It's time they woke up and realized that whatever false god they believe in isn't watching out for them. There's no great scheme, no reward waiting at the end. It says, you see Tiresias smacking horoscope in the back with her tiny enfeebled fists and says, "Oh my lord, get off her!" And then she gets tossed to the side. And then Tennyson comes in, bites her on the ankle. And then Sophia comes in with the frying pan to the face. "This is my home. You don't hurt my friends." Knocks her mask off, makes her blood bleed, and makes her nose bleed. Says, "My face, but you're just a pathetic mortal. How?" And you see Iris says, "My blade was blessed and cursed. It has drawn your blood and thus is drawing your foul power." She says, "No. Primordial magic, monster, learn to fear it." As a big Asgardian sword cuts horoscope in half, and she bursts into flames. Says, "Oh, Sophia, I apologize for the mess." And then you see Cryptonesia getting the headache, saying, "What's happening? I feel as weak as at last your power is winning. I think you've underestimated the persistence of old magic." Hey, good shout out to Doctor Strange and old heroes. May your gods damn you. They've done worse," says Hercules as he punches Cryptonesia in the face. And then we see Gilgamesh, not so tough suddenly, as he's pummeling Catastrophobia, catches his fish, punches him, and again bursts him into flames. And you see Theseus say, "Damn, Gilgamesh, why aren't you more famous?" He says, "You and your breed you're irrelevant. The world has no use for you. This world, for all its faults, it is the one we fought for. All our labors, all our deeds, once upon a time, they were done so this world would grow to become something wonderful. This is the future we were fighting to make." It says, Cryptonesia says, "We're the gods now, and your friend and your hero friends are obsolete relics. Wrong, our time has not passed, and while threats like you rise, we are still needed." Sword to the chest, and boom, as Catastrophobia bursts into flames. Still, then you see, "Yes, Hercules, thou hast done a great thing," and it's the Athena ghost we've been seeing since the beginning of the issues. "Great Athena, some deus ex machina you are." "Now you speak, now you appear. Where were you when I needed you?" That held at bay by the fell power of the storm, like all things of old. Kept mute, but thou, Hercules, with one foot in the mortal world, were freer to act, and thou hast broken their dominion. I come to make thee an offering of thanks, God to man, for the rest of the world will not recognize thy labor today, because I care not. And he says, goes to Sigurd, recognizes alive, good. "Thou carest not? I've spent too long chasing glory and adulation. It's been my downfall. The role of the hero. I've been too concerned about being known as a hero. Just being a hero is what matters. Thou hast grown wise, Hercules." And he says, "I've grown, full stop. Wilt thou come with me to Olympus? A place in glory awaits thee there. Thou hast been too long in this world." He says, "No, all I've ever done up to this hour is learn what it means to be a true hero. Now the real work begins. Hercules, thou hast ever been the greatest of heroes. Why speakest thee as though thou art yet beginning thy story?" "Because I am." And we get to the very end to Tiresias, as she says, "So fingers crossed, we've got this. Hope you never know how gravely the storm threatened your lives and the lives of everyone you cared for. But if you are watching this, then we haven't succeeded. Play back what I've said, take notes, do your best. The world needs you now. Though seriously, my lovelies, if Hercules, the first and greatest superhero of all, can't do this, I don't know what chance you modern Johnny-come-lately stand. Ho hum, I'm sure you're awfully good. I hope you're not put to the test. Right, I'm going to get Sophie to teach me how to send this to you through the interwebs thing, just in case. In the old days, of course, I'd communicate this sort of thing via this sort of important message via divine vision, but I totally get that these days that kind of thing scares the willies out of people. So interwebs it is. Toodle Pip loves. May we all live to fight another day. Click the end. Great, awesome book. Like I said, pick of the week, 5 stars, gigantic thumbs up. Man, I hope we get more Hercules after this whole Civil War nonsense is done. This was like such a great interpretation of the character. Really, it's just so fantastic what they did with it, and I just hope it gets more play out there. I mean, this new Hercules, this new way of looking at Hercules, which is not so different than the way they, when you look at like the Incredible Hercules series and how his character evolved in that, I think there's a lot of good from there, and I'm looking forward to see what grand adventure Hercules and his gods of war go on to next. What's your next book, Phil?
Well, since you did a Civil War miniseries, I'll do one also. Civil War 2, Amazing Spider-Man number 4.
Oh, Amazing Spider-Man. I hope it was amazing.
Yeah. Right where last issue left off with Spider-Man's now battling a return to criminal life Clash. He's trying to use his sonic devices on Spider-Man, and Peter pulls out a sonic inverter that he's it's better than the one he first used when they used to fight, and but it doesn't seem to do much to Clash. He takes Peter down and drops some concrete from off a building onto him, and Clash is like, that's just the start. And Peter says, I know there's a lot more you could do. At 184 decibels, you damage lung and liver tissue. Continuous low frequency tones cause permanent brain injury, or you could just go all out, shatter every bone in my body. And Clash is like, that's not. And he's like, not you? Nailed it. Exactly what I've been trying to tell you. He says, Clash isn't who you are. He's your fear and loneliness and anger. Believe me, I know how that feels, but you have a choice. And Clash is like, yeah, but that Ulysses kid had his vision. It means none of us have a choice. The future is set. And Spider-Man tells him, wrong. I personally changed things he saw. Stop them from happening. Ulysses' visions, it doesn't define you. You decide who you are and what you're going to be. He says, are you going to cling to the Clash tech like a crutch? Something that makes you feel strong even when it's ruining your life? Or are you going to redefine yourself? Find something else you can make your mark with, either at Parker Industries or on your own. And just as he's about to get through with them, Mendel Strom gets back up and he shoots them.
Mendel.
So Spider-Man tells him, oh, you're free. And he says, no biggie, we beat you once and we'll do it again. And Clash says, or not. He's like floating away, and he says, sorry, you're right, my future's in my hands, but I don't want the life that got me tossed in jail. But you know what else I don't want? The life I've had the last few days. So I'm on my own now, and so are you. So Peter has to fight Strom and all his robots on his own.
Oh, he's not even doing the superhero thing?
I guess not. He's just like floating away.
Well, I guess.
But But Peter takes Strom down. He like looks like he's going in. He's putting his hand through his robot body. He says, "This is what I'm looking for." He's like, "Your remote." I guess the remote for all the robots. He says, "Doing you a favor, really. I heard these newfangled ones are really confusing for seniors." And Strom says, "You think you've won? Ha! I was defending myself against Clayton Cole, an employee of Parker Industries. I'll have your boss in court." And Spider-Man says, "Good luck with that. Clayton just quit." So then later at Parker Industries, Spider-Man and Harry Osborn and Ulysses are talking. No one's seen Clayton at his apartment or anywhere else. And Harry leaves. He says, because Spider-Man tells Harry to keep trying to get a hold of him because he hasn't done anything else. He hasn't done anything yet that they can't fix. So Harry says, I'll get right on that. And Ulysses says, I make him nervous now that he knows what I really am. And Spider-Man says, don't take it personally. Harry's got a checkered past. He's just afraid of what you might see. And Ulysses is like, well, he has a reason, doesn't he? He's like, the vision I had of Clayton fighting you, I wonder if it only came true because I told you about it. He could tell we were acting weird around him. He was on edge. Maybe I just pushed him over. And Spider-Man says, wrong. If anyone did it, it was him. You gave me a warning that Clayton was in a bad place, and I handled it the worst possible way. And Ulysses is like, maybe I can control my powers better, have some influence over the visions. He says, like you said before, I could look at the research you guys are doing here and try to steer you in the right direction. And Spider-Man says, yeah, I've had some time to think about that. I'm going to have to withdraw that offer. And he tells him because besides the fact it might be wrong for Parker Industries to have an advantage over other companies when they couldn't possibly match, using your power to predict what lines of research will work, and only pursuing those would have consequences I didn't think of. It would eliminate mistakes, and in science, mistakes are how you learn. And Ulysses says, so I shouldn't tell other people what I see? And Spider-Man says, I didn't say that. You saved a bunch of lives thanks to your visions. That's where you should be focusing. People need to screw up and learn from their mistakes. But if you know lives are in danger, you've got to try to save them, because if you have the chance and don't take it, believe me, it will haunt you forever. Because he's thinking about the burglar that killed Uncle Ben.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he's that dang burglar.
Yeah, and then he gives him the whole, great power, great responsibility speech. And then Lockjaw shows up with the Human Torch, Medusa, and Karnak. And then Spider-Man's telling him before they go, he's like, try to stick to the stuff that, the dangers that endanger lives. Don't be looking for tomorrow's lottery numbers. I'm guessing Karnak and here can help you with that. And Karnak says, why is the spider talking to me? So Spider-Man takes off. He goes to the Triskelion, Charlie. He's talking to Carol Danvers. He's telling her, Ulysses is he's probably the best chance we've had to actually make the world a better place. I also think he needs to focus on the visions. If his confidence could affect his abilities. He says, we have to make sure we get this right, Carol. And she said, he tells her, you have the full resources of Parker Industries at your disposal. And she says, that'll help. I'm trying to keep agendas out of this as much as possible. It's multinational, multi-jurisdictional. You can help me. And he says, anytime you need me, call. I will, but that's not what I meant. She says, a fair amount of folks think this is the wrong road to be traveling, not just Iron Man, for allies and friends. She says, if it comes down to it, can I count on you to fight for this? And he says, for this, yeah. I know what it costs if we don't. But he says, just so you know, I'm also going to be your Jiminy Cricket. If I see something wrong in how you're handling things, I'll be super annoying. And she says, I'll try to notice the difference. And he says, okay, there are zingers, and then there's just being mean. Are you and Karnak related? And then, of course, once again, great power, great responsibility. And they say, we got this.
Sort of a theme.
Yeah. And then the next day at New Adeland, Spider-Man's talking to Ulysses again. And Ulysses asking him, no, still no word from Clayton. And he says, it hasn't been long. No, but it hasn't been long. The idea isn't to never make mistakes. It's that everyone does. The point is when you do take responsibility and fix it. He said, that's the great thing about your powers. You know before it's too late. And then he tells him, I'll be out there looking for him. And he asks Ulysses if he's seen anything. He says no. He says, I guess it's like you said. Sometimes you just have to hope people learn from their mistakes. And the issue at the end proves Clayton hasn't learned, because it looks like he's robbed a bank or something and he's putting a gang together. So he's back full-on supervillain.
Oh, boy. Well,
that's how the issue ends. But, Charlie, at the last page where the letter page would be, there's a message. Well, it's from the editor, and then there's from the writer of this, Christos Gage, I guess his last name is. But he's talking about, follow me. He says he's co-writing Captain Marvel right now with his wife Ruth. Here's the interesting thing. He says he's going to be co-writing with Dan Slott on the clone conspiracy issues of Amazing Spider-Man. He says, the first one's already been scripted, and it gave me the chance to return to a character I have a superior amount of affection for.
Bum, bum, bum.
And they have Charlie. I don't know how many books you're getting next week, but they had the next, Amazing Spider-Man 18 coming out next week.
I saw Amazing Spider-Man 18. Yes, I know. That would be number 6 next week if I get it.
The auto
decisions.
issue. Yes.
I know. And here's my big conundrum on that issue is: do I tell them to pull it, in which case I have to buy it, or do I wait to see if there's still one left, browse it, and then if it's good, buy it? Because I read the preview. The preview was pretty good.
Auto in the Living Brain. Auto in the Living Brain are on the cover. You want that.
I know. And I read the preview. The preview. Oh, it's good because it explains exactly what happened at the end of everything, and so it was good. Although once again creates this essential conundrum of the digitized brain that it exists here, but how many copies of Otto are there? And if you have a dozen copies of Otto, what's an Otto? It's a bit of a ethical conundrum, one of those things. Yeah. No, I'm well aware.
Plus, what if he gets cloned?
Yeah. It's certainly on the high likelihood list, is what I'll tell you. Okay. So you want me to go to my next book?
Yes.
Okay. So since you did Spider-Man, I'm going to do Gwenpool number 6 featuring Spider-Man, also known as Miles Morales, the cool Spider-Man. We get your intro page with Gwenpool talking to the audience about how she blew off her meeting with the client because she ran into Spider-Man on the subway, who kind of freaked out. Then we cut to this, I'm guessing a scene from later issue of Ultimate Spider-Man where Miles crawls into the pottery lab and runs into a kid who's got this big jar of green liquid, and we cut back to Gwenpool in her room in her own universe reading the Ultimate Spider-Man, and then you hear this rumble. And then we get to this universe and says, so this is Spider-Man's room. And Miles says, stop saying that. Sorry. Listen, I appreciate your coming out of nowhere and wanting to help. But given how you handled the bombing at the school, and cut to her going, hack, cough. Maybe we part ways for now. It says, dude, I can totally help. I like no secret stuff. Yeah, your multiple indiscretions with my secret identity have proved that. Says, do you remember what your life was like in your old universe? He says, old universe, what? Like when your mom was dead? Says, she looks pretty alive to me. Says, exactly. She made it here because she's important. Says, Gwen, says, quiet, I'm on a roll. Says, do you remember one time you were sneaking back into school and you ran into that guy in the abandoned art room? And he says, yeah. His name was Damien. And he says, yeah, exactly. Only you and your family and other important characters made it here from your universe. Is what the what? Says, why is that guy here? Because the writer didn't want to drop the school bomber storyline that he was setting up before Secret Wars. Says, what do you mean, writer? Ultimate Universe? Huh? I says, okay. I'll tell you the truth. I don't have Dead Watcher powers. I'm from another world too, and just don't you got to keep starting everything you're crazy. Nothing about comics. We can see what happens in this universe. There are writers like universe architects. Trust me. Says you don't make it that easy. They go to the guy's house. You see him working on another bomb. Goes downstairs to answer the door. No one's there. We see Gwenpool hiding behind the trash can. You hear a thunk as Spider-Man sneaks into his room. He confronts the guy who's it says, well, I was completely justified in my actions. See, the lottery school system is a symbol of inequality. And Miles goes, yeah, I see that. Okay, so yeah, the system is unjust, and that's it. I wanted to destroy it. This was the first time I've said that out loud. It says, so do you need to be knocked out before I hand you over to the cops? Or says, no, don't. And then, hi, any last words, foul villain, as Gwenpool pulls a Colt on him. She fires the gun. Miles saves him. Unfortunately, knocks him out in the process. Miles is like, "What is going on, Damien? Damien?" His mom comes in. She's like, "Oh, chill out, lady. Your supervillain in the making is totally fine. No thanks to Spider-Man here. See you never." Says, "What did you do to my son? Why did Spider-Man break into my house to hurt my son? I saved his life. He just hit his head." He says, "Come on, Spidey. We'll figure out how to take him out another day." And then Spider-Man webs up her neck, pulls her back. And he says, "You almost killed him. Why?" He said, "He blew up your school, dude. I was trying to save you a ton of hassle. Not killing people is not about convenience." He says, "He wasn't important. He's a plot device, a B story." So what are you saying? He says, "Somebody said, oh, remember that kid who was going to blow up the school in the Ultimate Universe? He can do it in the main one now." It says, he goes, "Oh God, you're in a comic book, Miles." Says, you're just a crazy person. "No, I'm a baby Punisher, and you're the baby Spider-Man." And she fires the gun through the webbing, and he says, "Honestly, we should have started with this fight. Whenever superheroes team up, they fight over a misunderstanding at the beginning. But now I see this is the setup of a complicated hero-anti-hero relationship. We'll cross paths over the years, be forced to cooperate despite..." And then he basically knocks her out. Webs her to a wall and says, "Dude, you're supposed to pull your punches against normals." He says, "I did." Says, "Wait, what are you doing?" "I'm leaving you for the police." "Wait, no, I'll tell everyone who you are." He says, "Yeah, I'm getting ready for that because I'm not letting you, a murderer, loose." And she's like, "I won't tell." He says, "Yeah, I hope not. I'm going to make sure Damien doesn't have anything worse than a concussion and make sure he doesn't bomb any more schools. I hope you get better." And he says, I'm not crazy, Spider-Man." And she's crying. We see her in the jail cell, see her arrested. Gwenpool says she's the one that shut up the bank and stole McGinty's cruiser. She probably killed him too. He's disappeared. See the first issue, I guess. Whatever, Gwen. He says, "I'd like to call my lawyer, please." He says, "Miles, honey, are you okay?" He goes back to him. "Yes." "What? Yes, why?" Says, "They found the school bomber. There was a shooting. They think Spider-Man or this pink person did it." Said, "I doubt it was Spider-Man, son." His father says, "That's good." We see the client saying, "Not very discreet at all. Disappointing." We hear boom, boom, and then boom, and then kaboom. It says, "My lawyer's here," and you see the MODOK egg picking her up. Batrac brings her in and says, "Had quite a day, I see." He says, "Thanks, Batrac." Says, "Gwen, what happened? Where were you?" He says, "I met Spider-Man. It didn't go great." Says, "At least you're still alive." Hey, this is her ghost friend. Says, "That's not fair. I'll get back on working up a defense against the Toothidians." Says, "Wait, I killed them. Not these ones. I'll try to set up a new meeting with the client so he won't fire us." She says, "Tell him I got excited to run off with Spider-Man and abandon us. No, I'll make something up. Don't worry." Says, "This isn't fun. To be continued." As always, I love me some Gwenpool. It's a great book. I love how it plays with her fictionality as well as variations on a lot of stuff with it. It's just a really good book all around. I love me some Gwenpool. Okay, your next book, Phil.
All right, I will go to my pick of the week because you mentioned Miles Morales, Spider-Man number 8.
Ooh.
It opens up with remember Luke Cage and Jessica Jones came to pay Miles a visit, so they're all on a rooftop, and Miles is freaking out, but because they're like, Miles is like, "You're Luke Cage," and he's like, "See, I told you the little brothers know me." And Jessica's like, "He's a bleeping Avenger. He knows all of us." And Miles goes, "Actually, what was your name again?"
Oh, way to kill it. She's got a Netflix series, young man.
No. But they said they're there as a professional courtesy because Jessica tells him she was hired to follow him around, and she's like, "It only took." She's like, I was hired to follow you around, and within 2 hours I found out who you are, your secret identity, who among your friends knows your secret identity. She's like, 2 hours. She goes, "I didn't even know what I was looking for, and bam, there you were, and there you are." So
she's very good at her.
Her and Luke are telling him, you're not good at keeping your secret. You got to get better at keeping your secret. And she says, and Jessica says, you have to do me a professional courtesy, and if I tell you who hired me, you can't say anything. And they tell him it's the grandma, and he freaks out a little bit. And they're basically telling him, whatever you're doing that has them suspicious, you have to stop doing it. And then so they're like, you have to shape up, and then Miles tells Luke, he says, Mr. Cage, you're like the only superhero my father respects. And Luke says, that's cool. Well, I'll return the compliment in a way. He says, when we were deciding what to do about you, I called my man Sam Wilson. You know him as Captain America. Sam Wilson says you're good. He says you might end up being one of the greats. And Miles is like, he said that? And Luke says, but you have a long way to go.
Yeah. Don't get a big head, Miles.
So then Jessica tells him about his mother, about how she tried to pay her off to stop, following him around. And then Miles says, I gotta go. Tony Stark called me. He says, and they're like, why? What's going on? He says, I don't know. Something with the Hulk. And Luke's like, they're calling you and not me. So right as Miles is about to take off, Luke tells him, hey kid, Spider-Man is a kid of color now. That is cool. It's important. Don't screw it up.
True that.
Yeah, so Miles is trying to get to the Triskelion, but he's like, how am I going to get out there over the water? He sees Nova, so he kind of hitches a ride without asking with Nova. Everyone's meeting up because this is right before Bruce Banner gets killed, because Carol assembles everyone, and they're like, Tony's telling everyone, what I'm about to tell you is not easy to say and obviously stays in this room. We're going to confront the Hulk. And everyone looks all shocked. And Carol's like, she's introducing herself, and she says, I know most of you know that Iron Man and I have a very strong disagreement about the new Inhuman who can predict the future. And Tony says, predict a future. And Carol says, most of you have seen the vision of the Hulk committing an act of unspeakable terror to us personally. And she says, what Iron Man and I have agreed to do is confront Dr. Bruce Banner directly. And in the hope that Tony is proven right, that the Hulk is nowhere to be found, that Bruce is cured, and there's not even a hint of the Hulk coming back. And Tony says, you're saying you hope I'm right? And she says, yes, I do in the worst way. And he says, but you don't actually think I am. She says, I don't in the worst way. And then Carol's saying, this is a volunteer mission. And Nova's saying it's scary, and Tony's like, scary, terrifying, and emotionally draining because there is a certified genius trapped in that monster, and he's a good man who made one big mistake. And so the kids are talking about, the Hulk, man, it's gonna be crazy. And Carol says Tony has agreed not to be armored for this, and Tony says, because clearly I'm a child who can't be trusted. And she says, because you're too close to this, you agreed to this. And she says, the rest of you, if you choose to accept it, you will be under my temporary command. And she says, I'm desperate for this not to escalate. I want your help. So the kids are like, okay, we'll go do this. And Nova's like, the Hulk, and Miles is like, nothing will happen. Flash to an hour later, Charlie, with Bruce Banner with an arrow in his head.
Yeah. Well, nothing really happened. I mean, aside from the murder, it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't Hulk out.
Yeah, but, so they're all at the scene again, and, Tony's going off. We're supposed to be guarding, avenging, defending. There has to be accountability. And then, who's next on the hit list? Danvers. And the kids are like, Nova says, I think I'm with Iron Man, and Spider-Man says, me too. And Kamala, Miss Marvel's like, oh no. So they all get back on.
Yeah, I don't know why anyone's with Iron Man on that point, and especially after that thing, because Clint Barton killed the Hulk, but that was Clint Barton. No one was planning that, and really that was everything they were trying to avoid there. It just, I don't know. I still don't get Tony's perspective on this.
Well, yeah. Well, the kids are scared, and I'll give you Tony's reference because he's going off on the ship because they're all sitting there, and he says, he starts off, he goes, in a really weird, perverse way, I'm almost glad it happened, just to show you all how screwed up this all is. He says, they killed him, a founding member of the Avengers, dead, a genius, an actual honest-to-God genius, and that's not a word I toss around. They killed him because maybe something. He says, who's next? You? Me? You? How about you?
But they didn't kill them. They didn't kill him.
I know.
That's the whole thing, is that this was not what Carol Danvers wanted. This was not Hawkeye, which is why I really don't get why Hawkeye is leading the Occupy Avengers thing. It is like the most insane idea in the world that this guy, who is the poster child for superheroes acting recklessly without regard to anyone else's life, that's the guy we're putting in charge of Occupy Avengers. That doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I don't know if that's okay. I don't know if Tony's off the deep end because like Steve Rogers is trying to calm him down, and but Tony's going. He goes, does anyone else think Danvers put Hawkeye in that tree? I kind of think she did. I think this was the reason she bullied me into not wearing my armor, so she could do that without my sensors detecting that she was setting Banner up.
Paranoid much, Tony?
Yeah, I know. But the issue just ends with Miles is he's right. Who's next? Yeah. So he's basically got the kids scared.
Well, yeah. Well, and as I say, teenagers should not be superheroes. They're too easily manipulated. They're too prone to hero worship. This is why Batman only works with teenagers, because, he likes to feel in control when he's having sex with Batgirl. It's sick man, Bruce Wayne. He's a sick man. Someone needs to take that man to Arkham. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Charlie, what's your next book?
Okay. Speaking of teenage superheroes, actually, I don't know if Gwenpool's a teenager. Well, she might be. We'll do Rocket and Groot number 9. This is a great book, especially because it opens up with Gwenpool talking out of the panel. Basically giving the issue recap as you would normally see her in like a like if you open the book and you see her just against the blank white, except here we're seeing that she has Rocket and Groot hiding behind a car and she's blindly firing a gun at them as she's giving the recap. And you really get like what everyone else sees. Well, Gwenpool is, they did that in like the last issue of Gwenpool where she's giving her monologue on the front of the thing to make the scene. And it's like, oh boy. I even got Rocket say, who is she talking to? Says, I am Groot. Ms. Marvel is trying to talk to them. Does not like that they're not there as Earth is being invaded by aliens, as they're all fighting aliens in New York. And it says, she says, I know what you're doing, Rocket. And Rocket shoots the gun. He says, and goes, hey, Squirrel, I'm done with my recap. What's our plan here? Says, well, my plan is to hurt you real bad until you go away. So if your plan is to get hurt real bad, you should absolutely stick around here. Says, okay, good to know. Says, what are you trying to buy with the bounty money? Says, it's not about the money. It's about settling an old score. And she says, great. So how about we catch them together? I'll take the money and you take all the emotional closures. Says, well, it's not about the money. Says, how about this? We call a temporary peace treaty and go bust Chammy together. Then we do the hurting each other part. It says, a temporary peace treaty, huh? Says, it worked for the Middle East? He said, did it? Says, maybe. Honestly, I have very little idea what's going on over there. Chammy's house later. Dibs on kicking the door down. Says, settle down. There's no need. Rocket comes through the doggy door. Says, where's Chammy? He says, who? The woman says, who? He says, Chammy. And then Gwen kicks in the door with Rocket still like halfway through the doggy door. Says, where's Chammy? And says, her boyfriend's name is Chandler. There's no way you're looking for him. He's in the bathroom. They go to the bathroom. And, of course, they see the busted out wall with his alien communication center. We then see that Chammy has met with the client he's supposed to meet there. But of course, the client is actually Reeve, who is this hideous monster character who is uh, been hunting him because he has some kind of information. Uh, battle. Um, it's very interesting here because there's this nice scene. Basically, Chammy gets saved when Rocket and Groot show up, but then Deadpool. So after they capture Chammy, um, you know, uh, Gwenpool betrays Rocket, and then Groot hits her with a car. Although she seems fine, so exactly what power set Gwenpool has is certainly a question here, and we then come up against Reeve, who makes very short work of Rocket, Groot, and Gwenpool. So this is just a very adept villain, to say the least. Sorry, I'm just catching up with where I am here. Now it's doing the whole move panel to panel instead of page by page. Basically, we find out that Reeve wants this information about a female someone, but Chammy, he's trying to be noble. He doesn't want to give it up. But Reeve can pull the knowledge out of his head and does so. But says, look, you have two choices. One is, you tell me the information and I kill you quickly, or you don't tell me the information, I pull the information out of your head, which will make me throw up, which makes me mad, so I'll kill you slow. Chammy tries to kill himself, but Reeve takes the gun, and that's when the wackiness ensues. Reeve cuts Groot in half. Rocket tries to shoot him, but of course Reeve defeats them all very, very quickly and handily. Chammy's girlfriend picks him up. They run off. Chammy says basically his plan was to lay low, but then he met this woman and fell in love with her. Now they're trying to figure out what to do next. And then, as of course, Reeve has taken off in his spaceship, and then Chammy comes back to basically, I guess, seek help from Rocket, Groot, and Gwenpool to go after Reeve to protect whoever it was. And next issue, we see Chammy, Gwenpool, Rocket, and Groot after something. Thumbs up. It's a great book. I love when Gwenpool's in someone else's book because you get to see how other people are reacting to her. But again, like I say, just observing her, you have to see that, oh yeah, she does have, as she says, this Deus Ex Machina power that, makes her the protagonist of her book and allows her to escape all these problems. So big thumbs up on Rocket and Groot, number 9. And I think that was my last one on my own.
Yeah, probably, because I'm down to my last one on my own. Spider-Man 2099, number 15. Oh,
man!
Can't wait to hear how this ends. But we're in 2099. Remember last issue? It was 3 of the 4. It was 3 members of Power Pack. They are the original members of Power Pack. Well, at least 3 of them. And they're working with they say Director Fury. Later they show, I think it's Fury's granddaughter.
Oh.
Well, the newest Fury's granddaughter.
Yeah. Doesn't make a wait, the newest Fury's granddaughter. How can it be the original Power Pack? They're 8. I mean,
well, they say they say later on in the issue they say later on their powers kept them young, slowed their aging or something.
Oh yeah, the old powers make you age slower. Yeah, I've heard that before.
So, then it's that Doctor Strange's house. Spider-Man's talking to Strange and Moon Knight and Daredevil. Spider-Man wants Strange's help to find Roberta. Captain America. She's downtown with one of those the Defenders, but they find they tell her where her husband's at. Then they show Power Pack with Nick Fury, N-I-K, Nick Fury.
Mm-hmm.
And Jake Gallows is reporting to Fury because I guess his boss. The CEO instructed me to. Wait till you find out who the CEO is. But Spider-Man takes out Jake Gallows because I guess he's tracking Captain America. But then Spider-Man hooks up with the Hulk and Hercules and the others and asks them where Roberta went. But they get distracted because more 2099 people show up. Now it's the X-Men of 2099.
Anyone interesting? Really old man?
No, I think there's. No, I think it's like the mutants who were in the X-Men 2099 book. What are their names? Bloodhawk, Luna, Skullfire, those guys.
Okay.
But then Roberta finds her husband, and he's like, you're dead. I saw you die. He's like, stop haunting me. She's like, I'm not haunting you. She's like, get a grip on yourself. She's like, get a hold of yourself. She's like, where are the girls? And he says, girls, what girls? She says, our daughters. He says, we don't have any daughters. So the timeline must have changed that way. He's like, I'm sorry, I never should. He's like, I'm sorry, I never should have used you for the test for the whole super soldier. It's all my fault. And he's just like curled up in a ball. So Spider-Man, Strange, and the Defenders are fighting the X-Men. Then Spider-Man grabs Jake Gallows and he says, all right, this stops right now, because if it doesn't, he's done. I mean it. He has like his talons on his fingers at his throat. And so the X-Men stop, and because the one X-Men, she thought Miguel was bluffing, and he's thinking to himself, thing is, she was right, I was bluffing. He's like, every second I waste here means that much longer before I get the cap. And then Roberta's still with her husband. She says, I'm sorry, I'll just leave you alone, and I swear to you, I'll never. And then boom, she gets hit from behind by Power Pack attacks her. This is the part where they say, who is this? One of the girls says Alex would have come up with a better way, and the other one says, yes, well, Alex is gone for decades. He's not coming back. He's probably dead. And the other one says, I don't believe that. Our powers slowed our aging to a crawl. I'm sure he's alive too.
Oh, because you know where Alex is.
Where?
Oh, you don't know? Oh. You don't remember what Alex's last gig was?
Wasn't it Future Foundation?
Yes. So he's off in the other universe. He's off in the beyond, rebuilding universes with the Richardses, and a whole gaggle of people.
So
Power Pack,
yeah. So Power Pack says, let's let the CEO know that we got the woman that came through at the zoo the other night, and they're like, yeah, sure, it'll make his day. So they go to Alchemax, and the CEO finds out, and he says, that's excellent news. And since she first showed up at almost the same time that Spider-Man finally showed his masked face again, I'm wagering they're connected. So let's see if you can figure out who this is, Charlie. He says, so we'll use her to lure him out, and then I'll finally have that wall-crawling weasel, and I'll pay him back for the way he ruined my life.
J. Jonah Jameson?
And the assistant said, the assistant says, yes, sir, Mr. Jameson.
How is J. Jonah Jameson still alive in 2099? Is he like a head in a jar?
No,
or is this like John Jameson?
And he's old, he's gray and wrinkled, but those rich guys, they know ways to stay alive.
I guess so, man. There's like some cloned hearts or something in there. I don't know. It's no. 2099 is 83 years from now. If you're already, let's be generous and say that right now J. Jonah Jameson is 52. Okay. That's real generous saying J. Jonah Jameson right now in the current Marvel continuity is 52. That means he is 135 in this timeline.
Doesn't look a day over 110, Charlie.
Yeah, well, clean living, and cigars, I guess. Clean living and cigars will get you where you need to be. Okay. Well, hey, I guess he made his money back. So good for J. Jonah Jameson on that. It's like if it was John Jameson, maybe John Jameson, the astronaut, became the head of Alcoa. That would make a little more sense, slightly. That would make slightly more sense because then maybe he's only 115,
Yeah, but I mean, he still has the Hitler mustache, so I'm assuming it's J. Jonah Jameson.
Oh, well, once that's genetic. They just can't grow hair on the other side of their mustache. People don't know that about the Jamesons. God. Well, good. I mean, that's kind of out of left field. I got to say that. Without a doubt, that is out of left field. But okay, good to have J. See, here's why that's weird. Because in the MC2, J. Jonah Jameson was old and wrinkled and gray. I mean, and that was a couple decades later. Maybe 18 years after. So, but that's that. Okay. But good book. It sounds like it was a good book.
Yeah, thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Okay. So you want me to do Black Panther or you want me to do Uncanny? Which do you want?
Well, I'll do Uncanny, so why don't you do Black Panther first, then I'll do Uncanny.
Okay. I do love me some Black Panther. Let me go back to the beginning. It's a good book, man. It is. This Ta-Nehisi Coates, man. I don't know. I think this guy might have a career ahead of himself as a writer. I think he could be a good writer someday. He's definitely got an imagination. That's one. What I love about this is we do get this inherent conflict, and we've got and again, it's an interesting thing about the Wakandan society. It is very patriarchal, even as they do acknowledge female power. It is still very, very patriarchal and very hierarchical as well. And again, this is what I get to in this idea that I think what Ta-Nehisi Coates is sort of trying to tell in Wakanda is almost a microcosm of Western thought, which of course also very, very patriarchal, very hierarchical, and it is a way of sort of expanding it. Almost if you ever saw that episode of Star Trek where they visit the world of Rome, where it's like they go to the world, it's ancient Rome, but Rome never fell and wound up, becoming the dominant power. And there's this whole idea there about how, yes, it's, they have this cruel hierarchical empirical system, but they also avoided, all the tragedies of Earth's, first, second, third, and fourth world wars, so, it's an interesting take on it. And basically we're opening up with, in Tiefa Nagano Vernanzana, which means whatever that means. I don't know if this is the guy talking or if that's the city we're in the state of Vernanzana. It's a weird little title card they put there. But he's basically talking about how it starts with this heretic, and you see the protesters in Wakanda, one Wakandan, one vote, no one man. We see that this guy is sort of the gray-haired guy from the professor from the earlier stories. He's talking at the UN. They cannot, the United Nations cannot sit idly by while a ruler massacres his own people. Changamir is his name. Invokes Gandhi, but the rebels of Al-Qama and Jabari lands who defy him understand the violence of his message. And then T'Challa says, no, Hadari, he proposes the end of rule of monarchs and replace them with the people. Says, I have studied his writings. Chanamir believes that the wisdom ultimately rests within the people themselves. We see, the royal council saying, rubbish, the throne of Wakanda is the embodiment of the goddess Bast. And again, it's a goddess-centered religion, but still highly patriarchal, very highly hierarchical. You are her exalted servant. It says, and yet we find his exalted servant powerless before our mighty troubles and treating with craven thugs. It says, my apologies, King T'Challa. I confess I erred in my counsel. But the rebels' purpose, mob rule, can you not see this? You sound almost sympathetic to them. Would that I could be Akil. No, I am T'Challa, son of T'Chaka, son of Azariah. My blood is my name. But one should know one's enemies well, and one should know one's own frailties too, of which we have many. Still, we are not without our own resources. Our man is loose. I have his scent and the scent of his master. When the two cross, we shall know, and then I will attack. And we're getting the Jabari lands with the Midnight Angels leading a troop of. Now, I'm not sure if these are other members of the Majora Day or if this is that the women of the village they've trained to be Majora Day, but they are all dressed in this way. But I think they probably have some others that have come to join their fight that maybe more of the, and I'm maybe mispronouncing calling them Majora Day. I think it's the Majora something. But anyway, we see more of the White Tiger shock troops coming in, which I guess is the male elite guards, and they're fighting, they're battling, and then all of a sudden they stop because the Mind Witch has reached out to them, says, we did not want it, never would we willingly war against our sisters, our daughters, our mothers. I am so tired, so very tired. How long have we been lost? How far have the dogs of war fallen to take up arms against the mighty and adored? The Midnight Angels take them prisoners. They will show them mercy, unlike the bad guys. And of course, Tony takes counsel, T'Challa takes counsel with the biggest jerk in the Marvel Universe, Tony Stark. Says, it's Zeke, all right. It could only be him, and the vibranium addition isn't even really an addition. He's screwing with you, T'Challa. I mean, I have ego, but at least my brilliance exceeds my ego. He says, I'm happy to think so. I heard that. He says, yes, because I said it. I know next time it'd help if you at least try to say it under your breath. Tony, we're getting distracted. What I was saying was that Zeke Stain doesn't just want to beat you. He wants to gloat and explain. The guys don't do that much anymore, but Zeke's a throwback, a classic of the genre. He has to be properly cited. He never gets that while he's waiting to be celebrated. You're actually calculating 8 ways to kick his ass. Now that's old school. Just be glad he didn't bring his girlfriend. I have no idea who his girlfriend is. Nice legs, full smile, bear a mother. Though I think she might be dead. There was this one time. It says, thanks, Tony. Hey, anytime, call me if you get in the spot. Who is Ezekiel dating? Do you know? Is he dating Madame Mask or I don't know.
I can't remember.
It says, 2 men are forever warring within me, the man I am called to be and the man I truly am. I'm called to be regal, irreproachable, and all-knowing. That is the mask, that is the king. But I am in my heart a scientist, one of the most brilliant in the world, and all of my brilliance has mostly taught me this. Show me an all-knowing man, and I will show you a fool. Says, and what I know most is indiscriminate study, high and low, heroes and villains. I study them all. Some time ago, when Dr. Doom sought to foment a coup in Wakanda, he used these nanites to infiltrate every level of society. Whatever the infamy of Doom's ends, I have always admired the genius of his means. Perhaps those means might be made to serve more fitting ends. Then we are in the Dajalia, where Shuri is again communing with the goddesses. And so we arrive at the Blackbird song. As long as you can sing and keep up with me, mother, I guess we will have to see Shuri. We are told the story in the village of Neri, a place now lost to your written histories, though not lost to the Griot. The people of Nri lived high above the clouds and the mountains, beyond the crystal forests, and on warm, clear days they grew wings and took flight. But the griot does not sing solely of how the people of Nri flew. She also sings of how they fell. Ife was but a girl when the slavers carried her out of Wakanda across the burning sea. The capturers kept Ife and the others blinded, for they believed that should Ife's people glimpse the sun, they might recall the power of the Nri. Ife was sold in the market of Aram like an ox or a bushel of wheat. She was bought into the home of an old man. The old man kept her in the basement of his home, wary of the stories he had heard of the great power of the Nri. The old man was blind to his folly. A girl can be made to serve, but she can never truly be made into a slave. What do you mean, mother? The girl was captured, bound, and sold. Surely she was enslaved. Precisely, daughter. Enslaved is what the plunderer does to a righteous woman, but a slave is a righteous woman who has accepted the plunderer's law. And not even the righteous has the power to grant such acceptance. Freedom can no more be given away by mortals than the seas be crafted by mortal hands. For even as a woman plunges into bondage, still she hungers for, thirsts after, craves the light. Indeed, the need is so strong that very often the plunderer himself hungers on behalf of the righteous. The old man dreamed that if he might someday love him, he induced her to lie with him, to bear him children. Perhaps sometimes, even if he told herself this, perhaps if he sometimes forgot the sun. It does not matter, because the sun never forgot Ife. The old man grew lax, Shuri. It was he who truly forgot. Or perhaps he did not grow lax. Perhaps he did not forget. Perhaps he simply hungered, thirsted, craved. Perhaps, my child, he simply knew. There is no fist wide enough to hide the sky. And then the goddess jumps down and, of course, rises up as a fleet of blackbirds. Once I told some friends that I only associated with them because my royal duties demanded it. There was some truth to this. My friends were beings of great power, enough power perhaps to threaten Wakanda. A king is never in need of more friends, so much as more eyes, but better eyes to judge than my own. Deception is partial to ruling. I tell my enemies, my allies, and my subjects what they need to know when I feel they need to know it. This philosophy tends to have some effects. A man cannot take it as his business to repeatedly deceive the world without somehow deceiving himself. Lately I have been clearer. I can now admit that I had it backwards. My friends, the Avengers, I did not join them to spy for my country. I spied for my country in order to join the Avengers. It was the scientist in me, see. It was the desire to see everything beyond the Golden City. To go beyond the pomp, the ceremony, to make the sycophants and provincial, the hunger to know. Now, I got to say this, and I have to stop right now because I'm going to just read this whole book aloud. The prose of Ta-Nehisi are just incredible here. Basically, the Panther's gotten himself captured a la Loki because he wanted to be captured. Stain does his own monologue in. He says, yeah, put your friend Tutu put out a contract on you, invited any mutant alien or cyborg to take out the king in return for a share of the future country. Naturally, the Fenris twins were interested too. So first we deliver you to him, then he delivers a portion of Wakanda to us. And then we see that this is all going up on the big screens in Wakandan Square. As everyone realizes that the bad guys are the bad guys are behind the revolution. There's a page to Wakanda. The previous head of security says, it pains me to see Wakanda yet again reach beyond the village. Says, yeah, we all know the proverb. You want to raise a child, stick with your village. But if you want kingdom, you call in the crew. And we get that apparently the crew is Misty Knight. Because we only have so many black superheroes. Luke Cage, Storm, and of course, I'm getting his name. Teleporter. Why am I blanking on his name?
Is it Manifold?
Manifold, thank you. Yeah, just a fantastic book as always. Just a great book. I'm a little disappointed when they call it The Crew, because to me The Crew is Josiah X and that gang. But if they're going to call it The Crew, they should have had Josiah X in there. But we're going to go along with it. You can't ever say enough about Black Panther. It's just a great book. Major thumbs up.
Oh yeah, this book is great. Every issue, it never disappoints. So should we get to our last book?
Okay. Yeah, we got to get here. People want to go home, Phil.
Don't get out of your seats yet. Okay, our last issue, Uncanny Avengers number 14. This was close to being my pick of the week. The last couple issues of this and Deadpool, I've been enjoying Deadpool more than this book a little more than in his own book.
Mm-hmm. No, Deadpool's great. Deadpool's getting all around, but yeah, he's very good in the Uncanny Avengers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it opens up in Tokyo where the hand's up to something no good, and they're talking to someone who we'll find out soon. But then they go to Deadpool. The theater's wrecked, but he goes to pick up Quicksilver in the hospital, who's on the phone with the Red Skull, being mind controlled.
Yeah, I don't quite know how that, but okay.
Over the phone, Charlie,
Yeah,
but
I guess so.
Then it's in Cleveland, Ohio. It's the burial of Bruce Banner, and Deadpool's making friends everywhere because he's like, "What? All I did was ask the Silver Surfer, a simple question about his shiny anatomy, and he throws his board up between us."
Oh, Wade.
But then Tony Stark's asking Dr. Voodoo if he can resurrect him, and he's telling him, "No, your friend is gone. His cord is cut. I cannot make it otherwise." And then his brother's telling him at least Stark is trying to help his friend.
Yeah.
And Steve's getting a little snippy with Deadpool, asking him where all the other mutants on the mutants on the team are, and I don't know, Hydra Cap's coming out more and more, Charlie.
Well, or he's just kind of, like I said, I don't know how Hydra Cap is, but yeah. Or he's just mad at everyone because everyone's being a big jerk, At least when he was old, Steve, I guess people maybe respected him or at least humored him. Now that he's young Cap, everyone's just like, heck with you, Cap. We don't respect you no more.
Mm-hmm. So basically, Cable, Rogue, Sebastian Shaw, and the Toad are breaking into a U.S. Army base. They're experimenting with the Terrigen Mist. Deadpool finds them and basically tells them, I lied to Steve Rogers for you, but we find out Steve put a tracker on Deadpool at the funeral. And Steve's not happy.
Can I ask you a question? It was very interesting. The image they have of the bombshell tattoo, does that look like
yes.
Scarlet Witch there to you? Yeah. I wonder if that was intentional.
Let me see. Where's the close up? Maybe a little.
I don't know. Anyway.
But yeah, so Cable and Cap. He's fighting Sebastian Shaw too, but comes down to Cable and Cap and Rogue. Rogue comes between them, holds Captain America down so the others can get away, and basically Steve tells the team's done. Wade's Deadpool's fired, and tells him he's just another failed experiment. See, this is where I think this is where people should know it's not the old Steve. He's saying, we started this team after the Avengers and X-Men went to war. That was a long time ago. He goes, I can't afford to promote unity with a bunch of misfits that stab me in the back. You know what? Old Steve wouldn't be name-calling.
No, this is true. Kobik. These omnipotent children, between Franklin Richards and Kobik, nobody is putting their toys back when they're done. That's all I can say there.
But, I love how Rogue's like, well, what about the whole Red Skull thing? And Cap's like, I'll handle him. And Deadpool goes, "That's funny because you're officially in your second century of not handling Herr Schmidt."
True that.
But yeah. So
could that be
so basically
that he's Herr Schmidt go?
Oh. But yeah, the team's disbanded, but the issue ends at the bar with no doors when Doctor Strange, Dr. Voodoo discovers that his brother's alive. He's been resurrected by the Hand, and who's next on the resurrection list, Charlie?
Some scrawny scientist guy. I don't know why they want him.
See, doesn't that seem weird that they just like buried Banner in a grave? Yeah, I know they didn't see the resurrection thing coming, but I mean, wouldn't some mad scientist come around and like, try to clone Banner or something?
Not for nothing. I mean, and here's the thing. That's what I'm saying. Well, this is what I'm going to say. It's like, why is the Hand even assuming he's going to be the Hulk when they pull him out? Because I think that's a real open question.
Yeah.
That was like that's the real open question of Civil War: is would he have turned into the Hulk? Was he really hulking? Or was the Hulk really truly gone from him for once? And that's the more complex question of it. And I think it would just be funny if they resurrect him and he's just David Banner and he's not the Hulk. And I think that would be actually awesome because then it's like, oh no, I'm not the Hulk. I could build you a gamma bomb though. Would you like to destroy all the world? That's what I do. I make bombs that kill everybody.
All I can think is maybe, they're planning on resurrecting him through supernatural means, so maybe they were planning on hulking him out through supernatural means.
Yeah, maybe. But then, why not just hulk people out? I mean, then you really need him. That's all I'm saying. It's, it's all good. But again, also kind of goes into that weird idea of, that because of all the things that happen, that's what causes the thing to happen, That maybe it wasn't that the Hulk went on a rampage, maybe it was that the Hand sent him on a rampage after they resurrected him, and they could only resurrect him when he was dead because of that. And again, you do have the interesting question: why was nobody watching Banner's corpse? But then again, that just feeds into that superhero trope of we're now going to forget all about this thing, This thing that is in their lives now, we're going to completely forget about it. Why is he buried in dirt? Why isn't he like poured under concrete? I mean, yeah.
Or cremate him.
No, well, maybe he didn't want to be cremated. I don't know. Although, for what it's worth, he's probably been embalmed, so I don't know how good that body is anymore. It's all full of formaldehyde at this point. I don't know, but good on them.
So is that it then?
I haven't read any more books. I barely got these.
All right. Well, then let's get out of here. Share your thoughts with us. We didn't get any listener feedback this week for either of the shows, so we love interacting with the fans, so please email us. You can email us marvelroundup@gmail.com. Facebook is All New Marvel Roundup. Twitter is @Marvel_Roundup. And our Instagram is Marvel Roundup. And as always, you can get a hold of me, nightwingpdp@gmail.com. And on Twitter, I am @nightwingpdp. And Charlie, where can people contact you?
Well, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Legends of Tomorrow, The Incredible Hulk, 7 o'clock on Saturdays on MeTV, @Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEsser. Look for the 2 E's in the middle for quality.
All right. And, the other thing, the big thing I wanted to get to this week was follow me on Periscope. By the time this hits, it'll probably already happen. But I'm going to do a live video of me watching the season premiere of Gotham. If it works good, I'm going to use it on the other shows and maybe get some of this Marvel comic stuff into there. So, follow me on Periscope. Go Parents, Nightwing PDP.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get out of here, Charlie.
Okay, good night. Listen to us on Super Connectivity. We'll try and make it short.
That's right. And yeah, come back next week. This one's been a long one. You might need a nap, but please don't take a nap as long as Bruce Banner. Good night.
Good night.